Hey everybody, welcome back to the gym. This is Rahul, and today we're going to talk about a budget deck that's super cool and super interesting in my opinion. So this deck is a Serperior Octillery Ariados deck. Now you might look at this deck and be like, what does any of these cards do? And now this entire deck can be built for like right around $35-40, similar to our Typhlosion budget deck, which is another video we did. So for newer players, this would be a really cool deck to get into. So I'll explain the deck just in a nutshell. You've got a 4/4/3 Serperior line. The Serperior does for its first attack 40 damage for a colorless, and then its second attack is for a grass 80, but it can't be used the next turn. But the good thing about the first attack, it's super cool, is the attacks on your following turn do 40 more damage. So you can hit for 40, and then 120 the following turn. If you add in math with bursting balloons and other things, you can two-shot a lot of big megas and big EX Pokemon, barring like Mewtwo, because that can just damage swap and you're in a lot of trouble then. The cool thing about this deck is the Servine in the middle. So when Servine evolves from Snivy, you flip a coin, and if heads, they're paralyzed, which is super awesome because there's not that many things that get around paralysis. You've got Escape Rope and Pokemon Center Lady, but other than that, there's not really that much that gets around it. So I think it's super cool and super cute of a card. Um, I don't. In practice, it seems a little wonky. I think it's like a deck that can definitely play with the big boys, but you're gonna have a lot of trouble with Garbodor. There's a 1/1 Ariados because you can't poison yourself because Ariados, its ability, you poison both active Pokemon. If it's grass, then it has no effect. So you're basically getting extra 10 damage in between turns on their opposing Pokemon, forcing them to switch as well. So if you like get like that small damage build up on like a Mega Mewtwo or like a Mega Rayquaza or something, your damage is going to start adding up really, really fast. And before you know it, you're going to be able to like paralyze and poison them at the same time. They can't do anything unless they play a Pokemon Center Lady, and even then they only heal one status condition, I believe. And they just kind of like take small chip damage from you while you can build your board and knock them out. There's a 2/2 Octillery because again, this is a budget deck, so we don't play Shamans because that's an $80 card. Um, and the 2/2 Octillery line just pretty much guarantees that you'll be able to draw cards unless you're Garbodor locked or ability locked when your hand is below 5, which I can see realistically happening a lot of the time in this deck because you're going to go below cards very often. Okay, so let's get into some of the cooler trainers. I'll start with supporters just because I just don't want to confuse you guys. There's 4 Sycamore and 4 N. That's super standard. I think like in a budget deck where you're not playing Via Seekers because that card's very, very expensive. For a budget deck, you can find them in the Rayquaza versus Keldeo boxes for like $25. They give you two VS Seekers in that, which is effectively the same value as a VS Seeker, or two VS Seekers itself, which I would highly recommend picking up if you're a newer player. Um, the 4 Sycamore are very consistent, stable cards that will let you look at new cards every turn and make sure you don't draw dead in a deck like this, which is very important because if you, I guess, miss a beat at any point, you fall really far behind, and it's just you want to be doing that chip damage with Coil on turn one, then miss Slash on the second turn, or Slashing Strike, sorry. So there's that. There's one Lysander, which is just to bring up something, knock it out. You can Slashing Strike a Shaman after using Mist Coil, and it'll just help you get knockouts, and Lysander's just a good card. There's one Teammates, which if something gets knocked out, most of the time you're not looking for too much, and almost certainly every turn something's getting it knocked out because this deck plays very flimsy attackers. You can like get it on the Servine line. You can get a Revitalizer. You can get just small cards that'll keep you in control of the board. Because a lot of the time, all you need is an attacker and energy, and that's literally it. And you just balloon something and you chill. Um, then there's one Giovanni scheme to help you add, like, get to those like magic numbers sometimes in some matchups, which I think is very important because with balloon you're doing with Coil you do 40, with Balloon they take 60 more, so they're at 100, and then you do 120, usually knocking out a lot of the things in the format. But say they don't attack into the Balloon. You Coil, and then you can try to hit for 140 the following turn, so that gets you the math on 180 HP EXs a lot of the time, like Darkrai, and you get the 170s as well, which the Ariados also helps with, but um, Having that really helps out as well to get that math. There's 4 Bridget, because now we're not playing Shaman, we're not playing VS Seeker. So how are we expected to get a lot of the Pokemon in our deck? Bridget. A turn 1 Bridget will set up almost your entire field, because you can get a Remoraid, a Spinarak, and a Snivy all on the first turn, or like a Remoraid and like double Snivy or something, and you're set up. Like then from the following turn, you can just Sycamore every single turn or N, or whatever you need to do to get the rest of the line. There's 4 Ultra Ball. Pretty simple. You want to discard cards, get your big lineup. You can search for almost everything in this deck with um, Level Ball itself. But I like 4 Ultra Ball because Serperior is like the blood and heart of this deck. So you want to get to that as fast as possible. There's 1 Super Rod. You're going to discard some cards along the way. It's unfortunate, but you play so many Pokemon in such a thick line that getting those back is very important. You could play a Karen as well, but like I don't think it's needed. 2 Revitalizer. Now, that's a really good card just because you can grab back any grass Pokemon right from your discard, like a Serperior line that just got knocked out. You can grab a 1-1 line and then immediately evolve because you force a giant plants out. So you can get your Paralysis lock up right then and there, set up an attacker in 1 turn with Forest, and that's really strong. And like you can get that 1 turn area dose. Like Revitalizer is such a flexible card in this deck where everything but your Octillery line is grass. So why not? You could actually just up that to like 3 instead of Super Rod 2 if you wanted to, but I wouldn't. 2 Lovable. Almost everything in this deck is lovable, searchable, barring the Serperior. So like, just it's a good card in general, and you can get things without discarding a lot of weight and wasting your resources. Now here's where we get a little juicy. There's 2 Devolution Sprays in the deck. I really like this card just because you have the option now to try to re-paralyze if you didn't get it on the first shot. And sometimes in some matchups, the paralysis can be what wins you the game. Because with the lack of Pokemon Center Lady, the lack of Escape Rope right now being played, Escape Rope, maybe they play 1. Center Lady, maybe they play 1. But what are the chances that they're going to hit it? If you can end your opponent down to like a 1-2 card hand, and then Devolution Spray into your Servine, you have like effectively 6 shots of paralysis with Devolution Spray. With Revitalizer and Super Rod, maybe 9. So you can paralyze something for a really long time until you can get that knockout. And the moment you do, you're ahead. And you just keep doing that. So you can just set up like 2 Serperiors and then 1 Servine and just have that ready to Devo Spray when you need it. Then you do it and then you hit them. Devo Spray is a relatively inexpensive card too, and I think it's very cool and gimmicky in a deck like this. Then we're going to go to 4 Bursting Balloon. So getting hit by 4 Bursting Balloon, when you have those balloons, it helps with the math tremendously. It makes it so you can knock out those big Mega Pokemon, and like it's just really good in general, I think, just because the big Mega Pokemon are the biggest like thing in the format right now. Mega Mewtwo, Mega Scizor, um, Mega Rayquaza, like all those are all, like Mega Gardevoir, those are like the big decks right now. So beating those is very important. Decks like Rainbow Road as well, like Poison, Paralysis, Balloon. So if they get through if you don't paralyze them, you're ballooning, so they have to attack in your Serperior. Sure, if they have the Lysander, good for them, but at that point they're not developing the board any further, so you're putting yourself in a position where you're further advancing your board state, and they're just kind of going, I have to Lysander around and try to take a knockout here, and if I don't, I'm taking 60 damage, which is really good for you. I wouldn't complain. Then there's 2 Floatstone. You can make 1 an Escape Rope, but I like 2 Floatstone just because a lot of the things in the deck, especially Octillery, is very bulky, so you want to get it out of the active spot a lot, and you don't want to get stuck with someone Lysandering up your Octillery, and you're just stuck for the game, and you're like, well, I think I lose. And so to prevent that from happening, you play a 2-2 Octillery line. There's also 7 Grass Energy, which is a lot of energy for a deck, I know. But you only need 1 energy to attack with Serperior, and you're gonna discard some along the road. And I think like that's acceptable. But like you can go down to 6. I think you can and put in like a 3rd Revitalizer maybe. But I like 7. 7 to 9 is a really good number in my eyes. Like 6 to 9 actually. Just because you don't want to be whiffing that energy when you really need it, you know? Like if you can get to that energy and when you need it, then you're set. You just have to attack every single turn without missing an attack. Because if you miss an attack even 1 turn, you miss that coil extra damage. you're slashing, striking, and you don't have anything to slashing straight to the following turn because you have to like keep that loop up. You have to keep that combo going, and like just missing a grass energy just feels really bad if your entire deck revolves around one grass energy attacking. So why be better to be safe than sorry, in my opinion. Um, I looked up all the cards, how much they would cost to build the entire deck. It's pretty inexpensive. I think the most expensive card in here is the Octillery. So, like, other than that, most of everything is, like, relatively cheap. And, like, the deck is really straightforward and standard to play as a newer player. So if you're coming into the game and you need a deck to build and to learn the game, this would be definitely something that I would take a look into because it's a deck that is inexpensive to build, very easy to understand. There's a lot of in-depth mechanics to go into it, of course, but at the very base level, it's very straightforward to play. And I like that coming into a newer player. Like if I had a friend who was coming into the game like tomorrow, I would probably hand them this or the Typhlosion deck because they're both very straightforward standard decks to play. That being said, this is like a deck you could use at your locals, your league challenges, your league cups until you can get cards for other decks that we've also featured on the channel because those are all very, very good cards and decks. More competitive in nature than this. I would put this at like middle of tier 2 because this deck has a very, very big glaring flaw, and that is Garbodor. Um, Garbodor kind of shuts this whole deck down, unfortunately, and you can't really do anything about that. Um, like you can kill a Garbodor, but if they set up a second one, I think it would be very difficult to do anything about. And like, against like Mewtwo Garbodor, I think you have a very tough matchup. But you can play ball with some of the bigger decks. Volcanion also seems tough, but this is something I'd like love to see you guys try out. Let me know how you like these budget decks. I'd like to make more of them because I know personally I have a lot of friends that are coming into this game, and a lot of people that have been messaging me saying, "Hey, I'm new to the game and I'd like to build something," and they might not have the money or accessibility to buy Shamans via Seekers right off the bat. So I don't want you guys to be devoid of learning the game and enjoying the same things we are. So like a small deck to ease you into the process of learning what's good, learning what how to play the game and the mechanics of the game is always good, I think. So I'd love to make budget decks. I'd love to help you guys out. So thank you so much for watching. Please leave a like if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe, comment with other budget decks you want to see, how you would make this non-budget or something like that. Up to you guys. Thank you so much, and that'll be all for today.